The Fujifilm X100T is an impressive, feature-rich modern camera that borrows its form factor and styling cues from traditional rangefinder cameras. This is a camera for shooters familiar with the craft of photography, and the payoff is a great experience and some of the sharpest, best quality images in this class. During the 2014 holiday season, I did a short overview of the Fujifilm X100T as part of my high-end wish list video, but today I'd like to dig a little deeper. I'll go through the main specs that you'll want to know about. We'll talk about the ergonomics. I'll explain some of the special features that make this camera a pleasure for seasoned photographers to use, and I'll throw in some notes about key features that will likely play into your buying decision. Then we'll wrap up with some of the optional accessories you might want. Fujifilm's X100T has a 16.3 megapixel APS-C X-Trans CMOS II sensor with a randomized pixel array and no optical low-pass filter. Removing that filter means sharper images, and due to the pixel layout, the chance of moire pattern interference is greatly reduced. The image processor is Fuji's EXR Processor 2. It's faster and it incorporates something Fujifilm calls an LMO, or a lens modulation optimizer. That compensates for the lens aberrations and diffraction blur in order to produce the sharpest possible shots. In my testing, focusing was fast and accurate, and that's due to the intelligent hybrid autofocus. And the native ISO is 200 to 6400, or it's 100 to 51200 extended. One especially impressive performance spec is that the X100T has shutter speeds up to 1/32,000th of a second. While the shutter speed dial just goes to 1/4000th of a second, if you enable the electronic shutter using menus, you just set the dial to 4000, then use the command dial for higher speeds. And you can shoot up to 25 full frames at 6 frames a second. Or you can capture those same full-size shots at 3 frames a second, and then there's no buffer limitation, so you can shoot until the card is full. Video capture is 1080p at 60, 30, or 24 frames a second with up to 36 megabits per second throughput. Exposure compensation is directly accessible using the dial on top of the camera, and it goes up to plus or minus 3 steps. With a fully charged battery and a normal setup where you use the LCD or the EVF, you can expect to capture around 330 shots. But if you turn on the power saving settings and use the optical viewfinder, you can shoot as many as 700 shots from a single charge. The first thing that I noticed was the sleek, snug aluminum lens cap. Next, I picked up the camera, and because it has a magnesium alloy top and bottom plate, it has a heavy, sturdy feel. The textured body and the slight bulge in the grip area is aesthetically pleasing, but I never felt really comfortable with the single-handed grip and no strap. One unusual thing about this camera setup is that I found myself accidentally turning the camera on quite a bit. The on-off toggle is exactly where my finger wants to grip the camera whenever I'm picking it up or putting it down. Beside that is an FN, or a function button, which is used for video recording by default, but it can be set to any one of 7 different functions. I appreciate that the X100T comes with a dedicated charger, so if I pick up an extra battery, I can charge it while I use my camera. But it's nice that the X100T is also capable of charging the battery if it's plugged into a USB power source. The unassuming lens is a fixed 23mm f2 lens, which is equivalent to a standard 35mm wide-angle lens. The fixed 3-inch LCD has an impressive 1.04 million dot resolution, and even though it's not a touchscreen, I didn't ever really miss that function. I'd call the viewfinder a standout feature of the Fujifilm X100T. It's activated by a sensor when you put it up to your eye, and I love that it's an optical viewfinder or an electronic viewfinder, or it can even be an electronic rangefinder mode where it has the superimposed focus area at the lower right for a rangefinder-like manual focusing experience. The EVF has a 2.36 million dot resolution, and it's beautiful. Now, the optical viewfinder steps up a bit from previous models and has a 92% coverage with real-time parallax correction. Flipping between the viewfinder types is done with this intuitive front lever. But here's something that you might miss if you don't read the manual or watch this review. The control dial on the back can be pressed in. Whether you're using the EVF or the optical viewfinder, you get a temporary 5x image zoom for checking focus. There's both a built-in flash and a hot shoe. There's a jack for external audio, but this one is 2.5 millimeters, and it's smaller than the 3.5 millimeters you might expect from other digital cameras, so you might want to pick up an adapter. I mentioned that you can focus manually, but you'll never find the manual focusing option in menus. That's because the focus mode selector is here on the side. And one final control you'll miss without reading the manual is that the trash can button accesses your metering modes. Since we're talking about things that seasoned shooters will appreciate, I should probably mention that enhanced rangefinder focusing and the impressive viewfinder one more time. There's no mode dial, but if you know what you're doing, you can still get the 4 shooting modes that you're used to. Start in program mode with the aperture ring and the shutter speed dial both set to auto. Then, just twist the aperture ring to your preferred setting for aperture priority. And that aperture ring has detents at 1/3 step increments. Put the aperture ring back to auto and dial the shutter speed for shutter priority. And manual mode is just like it sounds, with neither control set to auto. There's a built-in 3-stop ND filter, so you can use a wider aperture in bright light, and the 9-blade aperture delivers smooth bokeh and soft out-of-focus areas. Fujifilm has always been known for the look of their various films, and it makes many of us longtime shooters happy that they include film simulations that reproduce those famous looks like Provia, Velvia, Astia, and others. And the X100T also has the newer classic chrome setting. One more especially nice aspect to those simulations is that they can even be applied to videos for even more of a cinematic look to your footage. You might expect bracketing, but you probably don't expect that you can shoot brackets for exposure, white balance, dynamic range, and even those great film simulation modes. Even though the electronic shutter can go as fast as 1/32,000th of a second, I didn't expect that flash sync is possible up to 1/2000th of a second. And one more thing that surprised me in a good way is that you can shoot movies while using the optical viewfinder. That seems pretty cutting edge. There's a macro mode, and you can get as close as 3.9 inches or 10 centimeters away. There's a self-timer, and now there's a programmable interval shooting capability. Truly silent operation is possible. Just enable the electronic shutter and turn on the quiet mode. That mode also turns off the flash and autofocus assist light, so you can be really low-key when capturing images. I think this would be nice for inconspicuous street shooting and for indoor presentations and situations where a flash and shutter clicks would just be distracting to others. Face detection is new to this model, and so is the fact that the Q button screen can be customized. The X100T has built-in Wi-Fi for image sharing or remote control, and I like how you can use touch focusing with the remote shooting app. Another nice thing is that geotagging is possible by using a connected smartphone. And of course, beyond the film simulation, there are advanced filters, which are effectively like in-camera image processing. Things like toy camera, selective color, miniature, and others. Earlier I mentioned that I've never felt comfortable holding the X100T with just one hand, but the optional hand grip not only solves that issue, it adds an Arca Swiss compatible plate to the bottom edge, it moves the 1/4-20 socket on axis with the lens, and it still allows access to the battery and memory card opening. Another couple of nice accessories are optional lens attachments like the wide conversion lens WCL X100, and that's equivalent to a 28mm field of view, or the teleconversion lens, that's TCL X100, which moves you to a 50mm equivalent field of view. These are available in either silver or black to match your camera body color scheme. There's an optional lens hood, but it's a screw-on rather than a snap-on, so if you add this, you'll probably keep it there most of the time. And finally, if you want to add any filters, you need to add the optional adapter ring. I've had quite a few conversations lately with pro shooters who normally shoot full-frame cameras of another brand, but who are really excited about shooting with Fujifilm cameras like this because of their user experience and the impressive image quality. If you're an enthusiast or a pro who really loves the whole photographic experience, and you want a state-of-the-art blend of modern and traditional features, and one seriously impressive hybrid viewfinder, this might just be the perfect camera to spoil yourself. For B&H and Kelby One, I'm Larry Becker. Thanks for watching.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.
We all know the difference a great teacher makes. They inspire you, challenge you, and push you to do the things you never thought you could. For creatives, that means you've got to know your tools inside and out. Whether it's Photoshop or photography, lighting or Lightroom, InDesign or After Effects. And while there are free videos out there, you have to watch 30 bad ones just to find a decent one. And a lot of times, the techniques are either outdated, complicated, or just plain wrong. What we need is a better way to learn. One that connects amazing teachers with creative people all over the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A thriving educational community with nothing but the most talented, engaging, and respected teachers in the industry. Then we simplify the whole learning process with short, clear, concise classes. That's exactly what we've created for you right here at Kelby One.